Canadian Bulldog from Wrestling Merchandise and Memories. That's merchandiseandmemories.com. And today we're counting down the top 50 Attitude Era moments. Now, for our purposes, this includes any World Wrestling Federation programming between the years of 1997 and 2001. So we're not counting anything for WCW or ECW or elsewhere. And we're looking at how memorable was the moment years later. Did it help to elevate the talents involved? How did the segment perform in the ratings? And did the moment help to define the edgy Attitude Era? Just before we get started, wanted to let you know that Wrestling Merchandise and Memories has more than 100 unique top 50 lists on its site. Everything from wrestling rivalries to tag teams to WrestleMania moments. Check it out at bit.ly/top 50 lists. Number 50, Cactus calls it a career. WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley was a huge part of the Attitude Era. On February 27, 2000, Foley, wrestling as Cactus Jack, took on Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match. Cactus lost the match, and as a result, he had to retire from the WWF, even though he came back the next month. Number 49, Stooges vs. Posse. On May 10, 1999, WWE Hall of Famers Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe came out of retirement to take on the Mean Street Posse on Monday Night Raw. While the match itself was largely played for laughs, ratings for the segment proved to be one of the highest rated ever. Number 48, The Giant makes it to the Big Show. On February 9th, 1999, fans were finally getting their steel cage match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon, but it was interrupted by former WCW star The Giant, who was hiding under the ring and attacked Austin. Using his real name Paul White, he quickly became known as The Big Show. Number 47, Return of the Nature Boy. The WWF versus the Alliance feud ended on November 18, 2001, with Vince McMahon's crew winning the war. But one night later, McMahon received a huge surprise. His children's shares in the company had been sold to a consortium owned by WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair. Number 46, The Body is Back. The main event of SummerSlam in 1999 featured WWE Hall of Famer Jesse the Body Ventura making his return to the WWF as a special referee. What made the return more special was that Ventura was at the time the governor of Minnesota and a massive crossover celebrity. Number 45, Dumpster Diving. WWE Hall of Famers Mick Foley and Terry Funk had a hardcore match on Raw while tag team partners and ended up falling into a dumpster. Said dumpster was pushed off the entrance ramp by fellow Hall of Famers, the New Age Outlaws. Number 44, Sammy's Surprise. In 1999, WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry was quite the ladies' man. Fellow Hall of Famer Chyna got even with Henry by setting him up with her friend Sammy, who was a transvestite. This caused Henry to utter the iconic line, "Oh sweet Jesus, you've got a penis." Number 43, Halftime Heat. During the halftime of the 1999 Super Bowl, the WWF presented a special on MTV featuring an empty arena match between Mankind and WWF champion The Rock. The match finished with Mankind pinning Rock thanks to a forklift and winning the title. Number 42, I Did It for The Rock. In late 2000, WWF Commissioner Mick Foley set out to see who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin a year earlier. The investigation led Foley to determine that the hit and run had been carried out by WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi, who claimed he'd run over Austin to help the chances of his cousin, The Rock. Number 41, Owen 316. SummerSlam 1997 featured an intercontinental title match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Owen Hart. Austin legitimately injured his neck during a botched pile driver and could barely finish the match. Hart soon capitalized with the line, Owen 316 says, "I just broke your neck." On the January 31st, 2000 edition of Monday Night Raw, former WCW stars Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn all showed up at ringside. This was huge because all four had recently asked to leave WCW, with Benoit as WCW World Champion. Number 39, congratulations, it's a hand? The February 28th, 2000 edition of Monday Night Raw provided a very unusual moment where sexual chocolate Mark Henry got octogenarian and fellow WWE Hall of Famer Mae Young pregnant. Young went into labor on Raw, and with the cameras filming everything, she gave birth to a prosthetic hand. Number 38, Crash enacts the 24/7 rule. Shortly after Crash Holly won the WWF Hardcore Championship in February 2000, he declared that he would defend the championship 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This led to a series of memorable matches where Crash defended his title backstage, at the airport, and even once at the circus. Number 37, The Summer of Love begins. Stone Cold Steve Austin needed a tag team partner to face WWF Tag Team Champions Owen Hart and the British Bulldog on the July 14, 1997 edition of Raw. Austin tried to fight both men himself, but was eventually joined by Dude Love, the goofy alter ego of Mick Foley. Number 36, Shane McMahon's incredible plunge. At SummerSlam 2000, Shane McMahon was defending his WWF Hardcore Championship against Steve Blackman. At one point, Blackman chased Shane O'Mac up a large steel structure near the entrance ramp and fell backwards to a huge height off of the structure. Number 35, Shane McMahon's incredible plunge 2. Shane McMahon managed to top that SummerSlam plunge with an even crazier one at King of the Ring 2001. McMahon was being belly-to-belly suplexed by WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle through a glass entrance, but he missed the mark twice, dropping Shane on his head before redoing the spot. Number 34, the first ECW invasion. The WWF decided to get into the cross-promotion game on February 24th, 1997, welcoming competitors from ECW onto an episode of Raw from Manhattan. While the cross-promotion was only mildly effective, it did lead to a legitimate pull-apart between Taz and Jerry Lawler. Number 33, Stone Cold Hit and Run. During the 1999 Survivor Series, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock were set to take on WWF champion Triple H. But backstage, Austin was taunted by the game and then hit by a mysterious vehicle in the parking lot. As a result, Austin was removed from the title match and spent nearly a year on the injured list. Number 32, Faarooq out, Rock in. For months, the Nation of Domination faction was torn between their leader Faarooq and The Rock. But on March 30th, 1998, WWE Hall of Famer Faarooq attempted to kick Rock out of the group, but members D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, and The Godfather instead sided with The Rock, dumping Faarooq from the group. Number 31, a bunch of degenerates. In 1997, WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart had labeled Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chyna, and Rick Rude as a bunch of degenerates. But on the October 13th edition of Raw, Michaels acknowledged the insult and dubbed his group Degeneration X, leading to one of the company's longest-running and most successful factions. Number 30, Austin's heel turn. In the lead-up to their WWF World Championship match at WrestleMania X7, WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin said he would do whatever it takes to regain the title back from The Rock. This bared itself out with Austin gaining the upper hand thanks to his sworn enemy, Mr. McMahon. Number 29, in a belt down by the river. Another great moment between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock was on December 8th, 1997, when Vince McMahon stripped Austin of the Intercontinental title and awarded it to The Rock. Austin stole the belt back, and the following week on Raw, Stone Cold chucked the title into a river. Number 28, Cerebral Wedding. On November 29, 1999, Test was set to marry Stephanie McMahon on an episode of Monday Night Raw. The ceremony was interrupted by Triple H, who had been feuding with Vince McMahon. The game showed footage of an unconscious Stephanie marrying Triple H one night before in a Las Vegas chapel. Number 27, the higher power. In 1999, Shane McMahon seemingly split from his father Vince McMahon to join forces with The Undertaker as the corporate ministry. Angered, the elder McMahon sought to destroy the group, but on June 7, 1999, Vince was revealed to be the group's higher power. Number 26, Formation of a Foundation. On the March 31st, 1997 edition of Raw, WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart was tired of being screwed over by fans in the front office. The Hitman stopped the fight between brother Owen Hart and brother-in-law Davey Boy Smith, both of whom were previously enemies, to form the Hart Foundation. Number 25, Margaritaville. The week before the WWF versus the Alliance storyline concluded, leaders The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin temporarily put aside their differences in an unusual way. The two had something of a sing-off in the middle of the ring, singing tunes such as Margaritaville before Austin was rock-bottomed. Number 24, Winner Takes All. 6 days after the Margaritaville duet, Team WWF took on Team Alliance in a winner-takes-all Survivor Series main event in 2001, which was won by Team WWF. Number 23, McMahon General Hospital. On the October 5th, 1998 edition of Raw, Mr. McMahon was hospitalized because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wary of being attacked, McMahon was visited by a clown and sock puppet-toting Mankind, but kicked Mankind out of his hospital room, and then unprotected, McMahon was assaulted by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 22, I Quit. The most brutal match between The Rock and Mankind took place at the 1999 Royal Rumble in an I Quit match for Mankind's WWF Championship. Rock assaulted Mankind with dozens of chair shots before a pre-recorded voice of Mankind aired screaming, "I quit!" costing him the title. Number 21, Nation of Parody. On December 14th, 1998, Degeneration came out parodying the rival faction, the Nation of Domination, with Triple H becoming the Croc, Billy Gunn was the Godfather, Road Dogg was D'Lo Brown, X-Pac was Mark Henry, and Jason Sensation was Owen Hart. Number 20, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys. Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys were upstart tag teams when they concluded their Best of 5 series at 1999's No Mercy pay-per-view with the first ever tag team ladder match in WWF history. The match was won by the Hardys, but helped elevate both teams. Number 19, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus the Dudley Boys. The rivalry between Edge and Christian and Matt and Jeff Hardy was rekindled the following year with Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley thrown in the mix. At WrestleMania 2000, the three teams competed in a brutal ladder match that ended with Edge and Christian winning their first WWF Tag Team titles. Number 18, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus the Dudley Boys, TLC. The following year, the three teams rekindled their rivalry at WrestleMania X7, this time in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. The bout was even more death-defying than before, with Edge and Christian regaining the WWF Tag Team Championship. Number 17, the New DX Army. On March 30th, 1998, Degeneration X members Triple H and Chyna effectively booted Shawn Michaels out of their group after he had dropped the title to Stone Cold Steve Austin. A new DX Army was born that night on Raw, which included X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws. Number 16, the Corporate Champion. At Survivor Series 1998, a one-night tournament was held to claim the vacant WWF World Championship. Vince McMahon had appeared to favor Mankind as his champion, but before the night was over, McMahon screwed Mankind in favor of The Rock, an homage to the previous year's Survivor Series. Number 15, This Is Your Life. On September 27, 1999, Mankind attempted to cheer up his unlikely tag team partner The Rock with a This Is Your Life sketch that featured terrible comedy and even sillier punchline, but shockingly, the segment was an 8.4 in the Nielsen ratings, one of the highest ever for Raw. Number 14, Dead Man Wedding. On April 26, 1999, The Undertaker abducted Stephanie McMahon and pledged to marry her in a cult-like ceremony. With Stephanie tied up to The Undertaker's cross-like symbol, Stone Cold Steve Austin made the unlikely save. Number 13, That's Gotta Be Kane! After months of speculation that The Undertaker's brother was alive and had been hiding for years, Kane finally made his WWF debut at the Bad Blood pay-per-view on October 5th, 1997, tearing the cage door of the Hell in the Cell off of its hinges and confronting his brother. Number 12, Mankind puts butts in the seats. On December 29th, 1998, the match was taped on Raw and aired the following week. Mankind defeated The Rock to win his first WWF Championship. Ironically, the rating for that evening's Raw was aided by the fact that rival WCW mentioned the title switch on the air, sarcastically adding, "That ought to put butts in the seats." Number 11, Sable's bikini. In a scene that screams Attitude Era, Sable challenged WWE Hall of Famer Jacqueline to a bikini contest at the 1998 Fully Loaded pay-per-view. What no one counted on was that Sable's bikini consisted of body-painted handprints over her top. Number 10, Hart and Austin trade places. Going into WrestleMania 13, Bret the Hitman Hart was a fan favorite and Stone Cold Steve Austin a heel. The two had a brutal submission match. By the end of the match, Hart was the company's top villain, and a blood-covered Austin was the fan favorite. Number 9, Raw is Jericho. Following weeks of speculation about what the countdown to the new millennium meant, the clock finished counting on the August 9th, 1999 edition of Raw, interrupting a promo by The Rock. The countdown signified the WWF debut of WCW defector Chris Jericho, who delivered an iconic promo. Number 8, DX invades WCW. On April 27, 1998, the members of D-Generation X drove an army jeep down to the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia, where rival WCW was performing that night. DX's purpose was simple: to humiliate the competition on national television. Number 7, One Giant Leap for Mankind. The King of the Ring pay-per-view in 1998 featured a Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Mankind. The match featured the Dead Man tossing Mankind off the top of the cell to the floor, and then later chokeslamming him through the top of the cage wall. Number 6, Stun the Boss. On September 22, 1997, history was made when Vince McMahon made the on-air transformation from announcer to owner of the company as he tried to calm down Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin delivered a stunner to the CEO, marking the beginning of the Austin-McMahon feud. Number 5, Truck Full of Steveweisers. Another memorable moment in the Austin vs. McMahon feud happened on March 22, 1999. Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, and The Rock were gloating in the ring when Stone Cold Steve Austin drove a beer truck down to ringside, soaking members of the corporation with Steveweisers. Number 4, Austin meets Tyson. Yet another Austin vs. McMahon highlight happened on January 19, 1998, when WWE Hall of Famer Mike Tyson was being interviewed by Vince McMahon. Stone Cold Steve Austin interrupted the segment and tried to goad the prizefighter into a fight, infuriating the promoter McMahon. Number 3, I own WCW. The March 26, 2001 edition of Raw, and also WCW Nitro, was a landmark day in wrestling history as it announced the WWF's purchase of WCW on a live simulcast of both programs. Number 2, the Montreal Screwjob. One of the most talked about nights in wrestling history, and in many ways a catalyst for the Attitude Era, Survivor Series 1997 featured Vince McMahon screwing WCW-bound Bret Hart out of the WWF World title and giving fans a peek into the backstage workings of the very competitive wrestling business. And the number 1 Attitude Era moment, Austin vs. McMahon. We've talked about Austin vs. McMahon in many of these entries, but perhaps the apex of that rivalry happened on April 13th, 1998. Tired of being disrespected by Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon challenged the WWF World Champion to a match on Monday Night Raw. And although Dude Love ruined the chances of a conclusive finish, the moment set the tone for the controversy and unpredictability of the entire Attitude Era. What did you think of our list of the top 50 Attitude Era moments? Let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to check out bit.ly/top50lists for far more wrestling merchandise and memories.